Austin, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Good morning. How you doing?
All is well, sir.
Dig it, dig it. I just want to ask you a question, sir, because I just recently started listening to you more consistently these past few weeks. I've seen interviews and debates with you and other people in the past, and but I really didn't get fully into you. Now, a lot of the material viewers that I have listened to, it was from 5-6 years ago, things like that. I think the more recent one, but maybe about a year or two ago, when you would have interviews with people at your studio, not necessarily like your radio show.
Oh yeah,
like
the Fallen State.
With people.
The Fallen State.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I must say, some of it is very good watch. Very good watch, I must say. And there are things that you say that I agree with, and there's things that you say that I don't, and there's some things that you say I don't know if you're being funny or if you actually believe some of the things that you say, or if you're doing it for, the audience who you are trying to, cater to. Like, for instance, one of the things that you say about how there's no racism or that it never existed, you say it's either good or evil, whatever. Now, I understand the premise of it, because, yeah, there's good and there's evil, and that's true. But racism is based off of not liking someone or having a prejudice against them because of a skin color or something of that magnitude. So when I hear a gentleman say he was raised in Alabama on a plantation during Jim Crow, that would say to me, well, this gentleman must know that obviously that was racism involved in that. Or I would hear you say something like how you just said to the young lady, and I've heard you say this on a number of occasions. You'll say, yeah, black people, you'll say not all, but most. And when you say most, you actually have people who listen to you. A lot of them don't know black people or see black people outside of either passing through their town or what they may see on television. And I know because I drive tractor trailers over the road, and I'm constantly in and out of small, quote-unquote, sundown type towns. And those people, they don't see black people. But they'll have someone like you, or let's say a Jason Whitlock, not sure if you're familiar with the gentleman. They'll hear people like you, black men, speak on black people, and some of the things that you'll say, those people will actually believe. Because not most black people, sir, are on welfare. You told that woman that black people have been given free things for 70 years. That 70 years was spanned back into 1953, which was pre-civil rights, correct?
60, 70 years ago when, especially when the so-called civil rights movement started, which was the worst thing other than abortion that has ever happened to the blacks, was the civil rights movement. And the blacks gave up their lives. They turned away from God, and they turned their lives over to Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and all those people. And it's just been downhill ever since. So ever since that movement, the blacks have been having a handout begging. And not all, but most.
What does most mean, sir, when you say most?
Over 50%.
Are you sure, sir? Because you're projecting things on people.
I'm 100% sure. If it wasn't for the blacks, the Democratic Party would not exist. And the reason that the blacks are living on that plantation for so long is because they're giving the blacks free stuff. They let them riot and burn down the city. They let them commit crime and rob stores and carjack. And they let them beat up the Asians. And they tell the blacks that it's the white man, it's white supremacy, because they need the blacks to be like that in order to cause a lot of confusion and chaos in order to keep themselves in so-called power position and wealth. And so it's been like that since the civil rights movement. It's just gotten worse. Why do you believe that racism is? Can you give me an example of racism?
That racism exists?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, is it how it may have been at a point in time in life where, obviously the slavery, the Jim Crow, things like that? No, but there are still, things like redlining. I can say.
What is redlining? Can you give me an example of racism?
Well, I can say that.
Give me your proof that racism exists.
Give you a proof that racism exists.
Right.
You're a Trump supporter, correct?
You're a great white hope. I'm glad you asked. Ask. Let me see what he has to say.
Doubt.
Let me see what he has to say.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Controversial. You're talking about illegal immigration. I said it's illegal.
Now,
I'm talking about illegal today. It's illegal. But go ahead.
Now, for you to say, you're a Trump supporter, I'm pretty sure you haven't seen all his rallies.
Give me an example of racism, proof that racism exists.
Now, for instance, I was watching Trump rallies back when those things were taking place.
What?
And they were doing things like the Trump rallies back in 2016 when he was running for president.
Yes.
And there were people doing things like bringing ropes to the rally. Times where there would be black people protesting during the rally and people physically abusing those people and putting their hands on people. And you have older white people.
Can you give me an example of racism? Because I don't remember. I don't know what you're talking about doing that. I know that there were blacks pretending that the ropes were hanging, and they found out that the blacks had done that themselves, and they were trying to give the impression that white people had done it, and they found out that it wasn't true. But give me a real, because of time, Austin, give me a real example of racism, proof of racism.
Sir, I'm giving you that.
No, those were black people with the rope thing.
No, sir. You actually didn't let me finish. I was trying to finish what I was saying. They would have recordings of white people on there, older white men saying, had this been years ago, things would have been a whole lot worse for them.
I don't know what you mean.
That probably doesn't make sense to you. Now,
do you have any proof, real live proof that racism exists?
Yes, sir, I do. There are racist people out there who don't like people based off of skin color.
Can you give me proof? Right now you're just making up assumption. I'm asking, do you have real proof that racism exists? Give me an example.
Because there are people who... Sir, there are people who are racist, just period. That is a fact. I'm not saying the whole quote-unquote system is racist and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yes, racism is a thing.
Are you saying that the blacks are racist toward the whites?
There's black people who are racist towards white people.
Give me an example of the blacks being a racist, proof of blacks being racist toward whites.
I can't give you exact proof, but I know there are people who don't like people based off of skin color.
So, Austin, so far, you haven't been able to give me any proof at all that racism exists, but yet you believe it.
Yes, sir, because it does exist.
Give me the proof. Give me the proof.
Sir, racism exists. It hasn't ended.
Not just a word. I mean, give me proof that racism exists.
I know a family member of mine, he doesn't like Indian people. I have an uncle, he can't stand Mexican. He can't fucking stand them. Pardon my language.
I'm sorry? Repeat that.
I have an uncle, he will tell you he does not like Mexican.
Your uncle black?
He can't stand them. Yes, sir, he is.
But that's not a proof that racism exists. That's a proof that he has hatred in his heart.
Towards people of a certain group because of their...
But that's not racism, that's evil.
Sir, that is racist.
And so your uncle told you he doesn't like Mexicans simply because they're Mexicans?
Yes, sir.
But that's hatred. Why don't you see that's evil?
Sir, it's evil, yes, but it's racism because...
But why would you cover up evil by covering it up with a false spiritual thing? It's evil. It's not. Why not just call it what it is? So that your uncle may have a chance to overcome that. You're calling it racism. If he saw that it was evil, that his heart was wicked maybe he'll have a change of heart.
Nah, I know my uncle. He is how he is, and he don't know what something is, but that's still, it is what it is.
But it's
Racism does exist. You know, you can
but
say,
you have not
oh,
been able so far, and I appreciate you calling me about it. Obviously, it's the right thing to do, but you haven't given me an example of racism at all.
I just gave you an example. So my
No,
uncle
you
doesn't
gave
like
me
Mexicans.
examples of people's hearts. Your uncle, if it's true, and I don't know if it's true, he hate the people just because he has hatred in his heart. And if your uncle don't love the Mexicans simply because they're Mexican, he doesn't love you either. He loved no one.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Do you
sir?
believe that?
Do you know what the? No, you say do I believe what?
That if he doesn't love the Mexicans, he doesn't love you either.
Hell no. What kind of bullshit is that?
What do you mean? Don't be cursing on the radio.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Please
no.
forgive me.
Because if
Please,
you don't
please,
love,
please forgive
if you don't love all, you love none. Also,
No,
call me.
sir, I don't go by that. I don't-
love white
I don't
people?
go by that. Do I love white people? I love anybody who got love.
Do you
for
love
me.
white people?
Do I love white people?
I got to run. Back in a moment.